Good day, everybody. We're the Cola Guys, and I'm David.
And I'm George.
By Dick Dyer, Mercedes-Benz, the first Mercedes-Benz in South Carolina.
So why don't we start off? We are back today with the mayor of Irmo, Bill Danielson. Bill, welcome to the show. Glad to have you back, sir.
Hey, guys. Nice to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Oh, absolutely. So I hear that your first, 6-7 months in office have been incredibly busy. Before we kind of dive into the subject day that we want to get to, tell us a little bit about how things are going with the town and with your administration.
Yeah, things are going great. We are achieving goals that we set out to achieve, and I think I discussed some of this at the Irmo Chamber Luncheon last week when I had an opportunity. I was grateful to have that opportunity to chat with the folks I know and the small businesses in Irmo. So yeah, we went. I don't know how much of that you want me to repeat, but I would just say that we've been very successful in achieving some of the things that I wanted to achieve, that this council, this newly elected council, also wanted to achieve. So we're pulling as a pretty good team right now, heading in the right direction. We've added additional police to the streets. We've added cameras. We've added upgraded facilities for our police department. A lot of the safety issues we've addressed that we can address, and we've mitigated speeding. We've put up, I believe there's 8 or 9 flashing speed limit signs now. We've invested in another speed limit trailer. And we've also gotten speed humps down on Chadford Road near the elementary school. So that, with the great work of Councilman Sickinger and Penfield, pushed that project successfully. So there's a lot of things to do, and that project, for example, took over a year to make it happen. And I think, one of the things I said last week about how slowly government works, it's overwhelming. And I actually made the comment a couple of times that government can suck. Yes, they can. Yes, it can. And by that, I mean the speed which anything gets done, paperwork, all of it. It's difficult. And as a businessman who makes a decision and moves on, for better or worse, it's behind you and something's done, right? But a lot of cogitating, a lot of paper shuffling, and a lot of bureaucracy, which does suck. So, but yeah, we're doing well, very well.
Good, yes, sir. And so you've been able to sort of achieve those goals set out, and now, and while working on those goals, another goal came to fruition and another new project. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a background on the upcoming project that we're going to talk about mainly on this podcast.
Sure. There's a 65-acre tract of land on Deersholt Road that has been as numerous attempts at developing that I'm aware of in the last 4 or 5 years since I've been on council. 2 of which I know didn't get beyond their due diligence period, and this is the third that I am aware of. As a little bit of a background with that property also is it's been a very attractive property for years. The family that owns it hadn't wanted to sell it, to the best of my knowledge. I've never spoken with them directly, but I've talked to their brokers and I've talked to everybody who has, and they've been sitting on it. Well, now is the time that they feel in the last year or two to sell it. So what I think gets lost in all of this angst is that they have the right to sell that property, right? We hear about everybody's, you're trampling on my rights. No, we're not. The people who are trying to say they can't sell the property to whoever wants to buy it for the price they want, I don't have to explain that to you guys being in real estate, right? They're the ones stepping on somebody's toes. Now, where does the town come in? The town comes in to make sure it's done right and by law. And that's really only where the town comes in. The town comes in with land planning. And a week ago, we had a planning commission meeting where this project was voted down. It was denied as from our staff to the commission to deny it. And they're trying to get it rezoned to a mixed use scenario. Now, what I have tried to explain since this project came forward, I've tried to explain to the folks, here are the issues. Here are where we stand. The property is currently zoned 3 different zonings: residential, general commercial, and fringe agriculture. Under those 2 of those zonings, they can put 711 units in there right now, currently as it is zoned. Now, that was brought into the town back in the early 2000s, around 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. The owners wanted to annex into the town. That's how it came into the town. That was then, at that point, the mayor at the time and the council put those zonings on it that it currently has, those 3 zonings. So under those zonings, they can, from a density standpoint, put up 700 apartments and condos, for lack of a better term. We don't want to see that. I don't think anybody really wants to see that. So these folks who have come in to develop this property have reduced that density to 511, and they want to do cottages, assisted living, or apartments for the elderly. There's a fine line there, how you differentiate the two, and I'm not going to get into that today. And single family cottages, and then a 13-acre parcel for general commercial, which would be the village part that everybody can walk to and ride to. So there's only so much protection as the town that we can give the property owners due to the current zoning. But what gets complicated here is everybody wants to go to the next step, right? The next step, traffic. What are we doing about traffic? The road's already full of cars. The road's already here. We can't take more traffic. We can't deal with this. What's it going to do on the schools? Well, they're shuffling school kids around. That is not the town of Irmo's concern. Our concern from the Planning Commission standpoint in zoning is strictly land development. Everything else gets taken care of through the various government entities, which I refer to, that can be bulky at times. We, the town of Irmo, move faster than any other municipality or county right now. We have 2 readings to approve anything. We changed that a couple of years ago. We move quickly. We have 2 meetings a month. One is a workshop, one is a regular meeting. People have plenty of opportunity within 60 days to resist something, but it doesn't need to be strung out for 90 days. So we move pretty quickly from a government standpoint. But, we have to deal with only the facts that we can deal with. We can't deal with water and sewer. That's not up to us. Traffic is not up to us. And all of these ancillary services are not up to us. We all know common sense tells you if there's no water, sewer, that they can't develop the property. They have a letter. I've read the letter from the sewer company that says we can provide water and sewer to 511 units. I mean, that's, at this point, that's all they can provide and are required to provide. So what are our issues? What is the town's issue? The town's issue for the denial was they wanted to make the lots too small in certain areas of it, so it's lot size and density, and then B, the timing of the commercial development. We do not want 500 homes up, or 500 living residences, whatever you want to refer to them as, 500 individuals, or if they're all 2-bedroom, or there's couples, 1,000 people. We do not want that developed and there be a hole in the middle of it on Dreer Shoals Road with no general commercial, right? So there's a timing factor there. We want a pro rata share of commercial being developed as homes get built. That's the other stumbling block. We have a meeting with these folks tomorrow, which is Wednesday. They haven't walked away. They want to make a proposal to senior staff at the town, Doug Poland, myself, and Courtney, our town administrator. They want to have that meeting tomorrow. We're going to have that meeting tomorrow and see what they have to say. They know what the issues are. They know what the conditions are. When these guys first, go ahead.
Yeah, so let's pick this apart a little bit for our listeners, so that folks that aren't necessarily versed in the machinations of government understand. So the town of Irmo, when it comes to zoning, if you want to build a house, there's a minimum lot size standard that the town of Irmo has, correct?
Correct. 12,000 square feet.
Yeah, and that's roughly a little over a quarter of an acre. It's like 0.27, little over a quarter of an acre. And so when a developer like this comes in, buys a parcel of land this size, and they want to reduce the size of the lot so that they can raise the density of the housing, it's my understanding that they have to take what they're going to do in building out this development further than they would if they were to come in and just build out what a standard lot is. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
That's the gift of this mixed use development, our negotiated district zoning that we've put in place back a few months ago.
Yeah, and these extra things are sidewalks, trees, playgrounds, other types of infrastructure that normally it would be on the burden of the town to provide once they've come in and possibly put these things in. But because the developer wants to, go in and reduce the size of the lot to up the size, up the number of units to build, they carry that burden themselves when developing this property so that it doesn't fall back on the town necessarily to have to come back and do later, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bonus list that they can put down the size of the lots, but there's also a floor. The floor is 6,000, right? So if they come and they do provide something else, will we negotiate with someone if it's less than 6? If it makes sense, we will negotiate that, but it will have to be with other amenities and bonuses built in. And there's a slew of those options. What I will say is we have, and the town of Irmo is very lucky to have a guy on staff who is our assistant town administrator and our zoning guy by the name of Doug Poland. There's not a day that goes by I don't learn something from him. He is a zoning guru, and he brought this to the table well before these folks came to us. I want to make sure that we get that out there, that he brought this because he used it in a previous municipality. And what it does is it allows the town to proactively protect the environment and the neighbors and our constituents from rogue development, right? The jack in a box, whatever you want to call it. It allows us the ability to work with that developer to make it a win-win. Now, as you all know, a lot of people don't want a win-win, right? You're in the real estate business. Can you sell a house in Irmo? It's going to be really tough right now, guys. I know it has to be because we don't have any. There's none for sale. Literally, it's very little. And you really need to control the amenities around these subdivisions. So the more they do, the more we give them. And it's worked, but I'll tell you, it is new in South Carolina. We're on the cutting edge with this negotiated district.
And so, and I applaud y'all for that, because you have to sit down and go through these mind-numbing lists of,
crazy.
It's tit for tat. If I want this, but I'm going to give you this, and then determining has that person done enough, to justify us, giving, reducing our average lot size down by half, right? Or
Right.
even in this case, I understand that they wanted to take it under 6,000 square feet
It,
in some pieces of it, not the entire thing, but just in some pieces of it.
yes, they did. They wanted to get below. Actually, they wanted to be around 3,500 square feet. So yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
So,
some of them are too small.
yeah. And, just to clear up a couple of other things that you said, when people don't understand that the town of Irmo has no control over water, sewer, can you explain that a little bit as to, why that is, so that your constituents understand that piece of it is completely out of your jurisdiction control?
Yeah, good question. Thanks, David. That's a great question. The reality is we have the town of Irmo has no tax. We have no millage, no property tax. We have no debt. There's no debt on the books. So how do we operate? We operate from business taxes, business licenses, hospitality taxes. There are myriad of franchise fees through water, through some of the utilities, which is like 2% of whatever the invoice is. It doesn't individually amount to much, but it adds up a little bit. So basically 65% or so of our budget is made up of from the business community. And so we don't have utilities. Many of our other smaller towns around here, municipalities, do have utilities, like Casey, West Columbia. They have some type of utility that generates income, revenue. Of course, it also is offset by tremendous expenses. But years ago, and don't hold me to this, but years ago, we did have water, and the council decided to sell off the water to the city of Columbia. And I'm talking decades. So we don't have a utility. We have no control over utilities. The only control we have is to allow them easements to come in as far as digging for lines, putting new lines in, putting in new cabling, or fiber optics, those types of things. We have no control over utilities. We don't make money off utilities. We don't charge on utilities. So we also, for that matter, don't control the roads, right? This is another whole scenario, a whole part of this that has come to light. We are not, Town of Irmo doesn't have a highway department. We don't have a pothole department. We don't have any of that, right? I mean, that would take 3 times our budget just to meet some of those needs. So those are Richland County, Lexington County, City of Columbia, state and federal. All those issues fall in all those other government entities. So we struggle with that too, trying to get cooperation and get them to understand what we need, how we need it, and then how you're going to fund it. And that's the road problem. That's the infrastructure right there.
So when a project like this is starting out, at what point do you reach out to Richland County and the City of Columbia to start addressing the needs that you may have and how they're able to help? And does it have to get passed before you do so, or just kind of what's the process for that?
No, the process for that is the developer will come to us. We will tell the developer what they need, right? What we need to even entertain a rezoning, in this case, the mixed-use rezoning. We will tell them what has to happen, and all of this usually goes on without the mayor or council even knowing what's going on. People will say to me, "Hey Bill, what's going on in the corner over there?" And I'll say, "I don't know, it hasn't bubbled up to me yet," right? I mean, if it's zoned and there's no zoning change and I've got to find out. It's not like we send out, "Oh, Biscuitville's coming up over here a year ago," or "Wendy's is coming up in Valentine a year ago," or that part of Dutch Fork Road. So, it has to bubble to that. But we tell them what they need: water, sewer, all those things. It is then they need to meet with DOT, in this case, Department of Transportation, which that meeting was had. And I tell this story. I thought it was interesting. We had like 7 people from DOT come to this meeting, and which I thought was an awful lot of people. So I don't know, but only 2 spoke. So who knows? But the 2 who spoke gave guidelines, what has to happen, what they need to do. Talked about potentially mitigating traffic on Farming Creek, Trias Shoals, what is going to be required. And they couldn't answer really any of those questions other than we would recommend you do this. And we would think that, yeah, that's probably could happen. And it would all be based on a traffic study. And we have now in the town of Irmo, we now have it as a law that you have to do a traffic study for any new development. Now, there's a caveat in there depending on the size. I don't have that formula in front of me, but for the most part, anything of any size is going to have a traffic study. And the traffic study, and it's not just how many cars are coming, it's the type of businesses, it's how many people are potentially living there, right? It's, versus a family of 5 or 6 versus an elderly couple, 2 cars, 1 car. All of those things get factored in. And until that study's done, they can't make the recommendations. Then they make the recommendations based on the engineering plans of what the development is. They try to pull them together, and somebody's got to figure out who's paying for it. And that will fall on the developer in this case.
So I hope, and thank you for going back and talking through that, just, because I think the more the average person out there understands the whys and the processes, they can understand, or at least not have some of the reactions that they have to the word growth or development when they hear it.
Yeah.
Because whether folks here like it or not, people are moving to South Carolina. People are moving to South Carolina in droves. There's a lot of new industry coming. People are coming because of the state. They like the state political atmosphere. They love Lake Murray, whatever. So it's coming. Yeah, and I mean they love Irmo. I mean, heavens, people know about the Okra Strut, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that draws people in. We've got a very vibrant Chamber of Commerce, that has a wonderful relationship with the town of Irmo. So, there are a lot of reasons to be proud of who we are. And, if we want things to stay the same or get better, growth is, necessary. And so I applaud y'all for everything y'all are trying to do to put processes in place in order to make it, a smart process to think ahead, think out, before things happen, try and handle them the way y'all are. So appreciate that from you.
Right. Appreciate it. That's what the comprehensive land plan is doing. I mean, that had to be re-upped. So we've worked on it, and it'll take a year. It'll be finished up probably by this fall. It's close to being completed. But it's not a plan to go out and annex everybody around the town of Irmo. It's about what some of the fringe property that we have is currently zoned, how it melds with what's next door. Do we have recommendations for that zoning in the event it comes into town? A lot of people want to move into the town for a variety of reasons, mostly police and fire, right?
Yeah.
If they're in the Irmo district, fire is incredibly, because it discounts all of their insurance policy premiums because we're rated in the number 1 designation. Police is a big issue. That's what we have to sell to the folks, is a policing issue. Would you rather live in the town of Irmo? Or would you rather live in Richland County where you've got 4 officers or 5 officers on a Friday and they're spread out over 35 miles? I don't know the answer to that. I do know the answer to that, but I've had people tell me at Richland County it's tough. It's tough to cover that kind of mileage quickly, where the average response time for town of Irmo is less than 5 minutes for our police. So there are a lot of things going on, but that's what the comprehensive land plan does. It's not a scheme to take over Ballantyne or Harbison or whatever entity you want to throw in there. It's just good government. It's good. It's anti-suck government is what it is.
Well, is there anything else you want to share about the town of Irmo? What's going on with us before we kind of wrap it up here this afternoon? I know we've covered the ground with this project, and you gave us a little bit of update earlier.
Yeah. No, not really. I just want the folks to know who don't come to council meetings, who don't understand the dynamics. We have 3 new roles in the last 7 months at the town of Irmo. Actually, 4. We had my election as mayor. We had Gabriel Penfield elected as councilman, and we've had Phyllis Coleman also elected as a councilwoman, and then we had Eric now serving in the role of mayor pro tem, councilman second year. So we've got 2 brand new folks on the council, and we bringing them up to speed. We're all being brought up to speed by a dynamic administration. We need more help there. The town is expanding. We've already blown the walls out of this little building. We're looking to try to do a town hall. We've got people doubled up in the office, or in one office already. We have 1 or 2 more people we need to hire. The town is growing. We are not the sleepy little town that was here when I moved here in 1987. Right? This town is way beyond that, and we need to stay out ahead of that and be ready to deal with that. So all I can tell the folks is we have got a great staff. We've got a great council. We're working well together. We may not always agree on stuff, but we're going to work that out, and we go from there. And it's my job as mayor to lead that council in hopefully the same direction. Pick up the paper. Nobody picks up the paper anymore, but go online and look at the newspapers and see what's going on around us from a political standpoint locally. There's some crazy, ugly stuff going on, and we want to stay away from that. I mean, we're staying positive. We want to be positive, and I have an open dialogue. If anybody wants to talk to me, I'm happy to chat with them.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for coming on today, and it's always a pleasure to have you here. That way, the community of Irmo and the surrounding areas are able to learn a little bit more about the projects going on, but also why the process is the way it is, and that some things are just out of your control, and so what you're voting on isn't necessarily what they see it as, and so it's good to fill them in on that information, definitely. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, George.
Is sponsored by Bell Carrington, Price and Gregg. Bell Carrington is our choice for the best real estate attorneys in town. They are highly communicative and make sure that the closing process is as smooth as possible. With offices in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, they can handle any of your real estate finance, eminent domain, financial services litigation, and litigation needs. Call their Columbia SC office today at 803-509-5078.